Yo, welcome back to NSA Bulls Podcast with Nick and Sean. Another episode, another week of the NBA. What's going on with the Bulls and everything else worth discussing. So right now we do have some things going on. It has been trade talk around the NBA, along with the Chicago Bulls continuing to play mediocre.
The Bulls currently right now is an update, as we all know right now, as those Bulls fans out there. We had a 3-game winning streak, lost to Memphis. The game was in the balance. We outscored them in the third quarter by 13 just to get outscored by 18. It's just ridiculous. Just lack of consistency, which has been basically how the whole season has played out.
Yep.
But it sucks when it's games that's in the balance that we can actually win instead of us getting blown out. It started off a little rocky. I was watching that game. I thought Vooch did a really good job. I mean, he had a hell of a game, put up 28 and 17. And he's been putting up good numbers for us on a double-double standpoint. And, some things don't tell the whole story. I mean, Zach LaVine, he had a good on-paper game, 24 points by him. But ultimately, I felt like him being, the alpha guy for our team while DeRozan was out on the perimeter. I felt like, there was instances where he didn't make the right play, holding on the ball too long and, caused some turnovers down the stretch or just not imposing the will that we need from him being the $216 million player that he is. So that was that.
So DeMar didn't play at all.
DeMar didn't play at all, but it was still a winnable game. But here's what I remember. I said this once before on previous episodes. I feel like the pace is different when DeRozan isn't playing. This is a team that struggles with an identity. They do not have a set gear that they like to play regardless of who's in the lineup. So when DeRozan's in the lineup, they slow the game down more, and they play with more, draining out the shot clock per se. I saw them shooting more quicker in the shot clock. The ball was moving fast and efficient, and it was getting good open looks. They just weren't converting on them. So the shot selection was good initially, and then it ultimately ended up being not so good towards the end of the game. Ultimately, the team had 18 turnovers. Most of their turnovers came in the first half of the game, and they picked it up really well in the third quarter, and then they just pretty much loosened the grips in that fourth quarter, and Ja Morant was sensational as he has been all season. So we were able to hang with Memphis. I know Memphis was without Steven Adams, but this was definitely a winnable game. I mean, we got outscored big time in that fourth quarter.
I mean, it's not going to cut it when you're finishing the fourth quarter only 14 points.
You can't win no game like that, especially against a top echelon team like the Memphis Grizzlies.
Especially if you're going to start off slow in the first quarter with only 14 points. So that's not a good way to start the game or finish the game.
It really isn't, absolutely. But another Achilles heel for us is the outside shooting. The outside shooting is practically abysmal. Open shots, and you got to make players pay. You got to make teams pay for open shots. We're professional basketball players, so I'm not going to sit up here and say I can just go on the court and get you 8 out of 10 open makes, but I don't play the game for a living. I would love to, obviously, like we all would, right? But ultimately, Caruso, let's talk about him. His efficiency is not where it should be offensively for the minutes that he plays. He plays exceptional defensively for us, getting in the pass lanes, trying to cause diversions, get, players to kind of think twice about the next shot they want to take, and just trying to cause a lot of, disruption. But he only put up 2 points. He put up 2 points in 26 minutes of play. I mean, those numbers don't add up to victory. I know he was starting for us, and, I just feel like he's shown to us that he's not worthy of starting at times. I feel like he's worthy of big minutes, but he's not worthy of starting. I feel like starting is a tone setter. You have to have a guy in there that sets the tone. And Caruso, for me, is the kind of guy I believe that he can consistently keep up what that tone is if it's properly set. And we don't have tone setters. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like Patrick Williams, he should be stepping into that more. He had plays throughout the Memphis game where he looked exceptional. He dunking over they big man down low in the Memphis. Their big man was killing us in terms of the boards. When I look at that game, just taking a look at everything, Jared Jackson, he killed us. with just like second chance opportunities and just trying to like, attack the paint. But he played the way he been playing all season long. I'm sorry, Jaren Jackson. I apologize. So, so Jaren Jackson was killing it for us. For them, I'm sorry. Desmond Bane, he was kind of okay, but really it was just John Morant and, just getting us to stop scoring pretty much ultimately down the stretch, but I just feel like that was a winnable game for us.
So with Caruso, you're just asking him for more offensive production.
Yeah. I mean, I just try not to be that guy that's unappreciative of what he provides, because I know what he provides is always going to be needed on an elite team or a team that has aspirations of winning a championship.
Yeah.
But I feel like offensively, we need more. We need more for those kind of minutes that he's getting.
So what would you be asking from him?
Hit open shots. I mean, if you're gonna get open shots, which he did get a lot of those, you gotta hit him. Him and Io, they gotta hit open shots. Io is a rim attacker, so he had a quarter where he played exceptional well and kind of averaged throughout most of the game. Yeah. I know he had a daunting task of trying to stay in front of John Morant, and that could be challenging for anybody in the league. Yeah. So I'm not gonna put too much pressure on Io. But I would have liked to see Caruso just make more of his open jump shots. I mean, obviously, it's easier said than done, but that would have been a game changer for us. And then for Zach to take care of the ball a little bit more, down the waning seconds of the game or waning minutes, the last 6-7 minutes of the game in the fourth quarter. These are winning time plays. This is where it's considered to be what we would like to have no mistake basketball. Being able to just make sure you make the right play, get the shot off, no shot clock violations, no unforced, turnovers. And if you can keep it that way, the team that can make the least amount of mistakes typically is the team that wins the game. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. We gave ourselves a chance going into the fourth quarter, and then we just pretty much practically pissed it away. So that's how the Bulls' last 4 games ended. Well, that was their 5th game. Probably like the last week and a half or so. They had a 4-game home stretch. It's their first game on the road after the 4-game home stretch. So they was on a 3-game winning streak. Then they just lost this game. But that game, if we would have won that game, would have put us basically in the 8th seed right now. We're currently in the 9th seed, right underneath the Atlanta Hawks right now. So Atlanta had just recently lost, but if they lost, which they already did, and if the Bulls won, we'd have probably hurtled over them into that 8th seed. It's just one of those things that we don't have a big margin for error, and we have to make up for it because I don't know the schedule directly for all of these teams, but some of these teams probably have a weak schedule. Yeah, they might have a chance to go on a 5 or 6 game winning streak just because of the opponents they may be facing, which can give them the upper hand versus who we would have to play. So our next contest, we got the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, it's without Kyrie, which is another topic of discussion later in this segment. But we got to go against Cam. And Cam has been killing it for the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, the man has had 3 straight 40-point games now. So he's killing it for this team right now. No question, Cam Thomas is a hooper. He did this in college. Just looking at how he was able to score the basketball, he's doing it on efficient clips. So at this point, it just looks like Cam, you could look at it as like he just needed the basketball and opportunities. Yeah. And now that he getting that, no KD, no Kyrie, he's cooking. He's cooking, man. And I feel like there's more performances like this in store for him this season. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Looking at the Bulls' schedule real quick, got the Cavaliers on Saturday, and that's a Central Division rival. Last time we played them, Donovan Mitchell put 71 points on us. But this time around, they'll have Garland back. The Garland wasn't playing last game. So this is why winning the games where we are in the balance with is so important. Because not to say, brace yourselves, we might lose to Cleveland, but it's going to be a daunting task because in Cleveland is a little sketchy. I'm not going to lie. Like, the kind of calls that be going on and what happened last game.
And with that last time, were they in Cleveland?
They were in Cleveland. They were in Cleveland that last game. So, getting like free throw lane violations called on us, only to not get one called on Donovan Mitchell.
Bad fouls.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a lot of, fugazi stuff going on, with that. But ultimately, they're still things that we can do. I do believe the Bulls will be in the playoffs, but I just want to see us go on like a 4 to 5 game winning streak.
Now, when you mean playoffs, do you mean playoffs or play in?
I think we can get in the playoffs. I would love to see us avoid the play in. Mm-hmm. When I look at the seeding, the Bulls. Between the Bulls and like the Miami Heat per se at the time of this podcast, the Heat are about 4 games ahead of us, which on paper isn't technically a lot, but it's But again, it comes down to who does the Heat have to play against in the next 10 or 15 games,
exactly, and
are those all technically winnable games for them?
Yeah,
anybody can be beat. But ultimately, it does help if you're going against a team that, are all bottom feeder teams, and you are a mid to high level team. Mm-hmm. You can look at that and say, well, if we just give 80% effort, 90% effort, not 100%, probably not, we can come out with the victory with those games. So,
and for the Bulls' sake, it seems like their schedule is not too tough. So we have the next, like you said, coming up. No KD, no Kyrie now. That is a winnable game. That should be a game that we should check off with a W. The Cavaliers, that's going to be a little tough one, but we should have a little animosity since we lost that last game against them. So maybe they have that on the back of their mind. The Magic, another team that's not really in the playoff picture. We got the Pacers, beatable team. Then we have the Bucks, the Nets again. Wizards. So we have the Cavaliers and the Bucks will probably be our toughest games, and those teams that I mentioned. So hopefully we can really just do what we have to do. But we've been saying that for all season. So
exactly, it's been. We've been trying to remain optimistic all season about what we expect to see with the talent we have.
Yep.
Individually, we have guys that can give you 20. In the right system, in the right confidence, in the right rhythm, obviously. But there are a lot of teams in the league that can say the same thing.
Yeah.
But Patrick Williams, we just need him to be more assertive. We said this before. He has instances where he'll dunk the basketball and he coming out transition, hitting good threes, and he'll go back to being, unrecognizable on the basketball court. We don't even know if he's playing or not.
Right.
Unless you're really watching play by play. But, I just feel like some of our guys have played basketball long enough for the same team that shouldn't be an excuse. Like you should always make yourself relevant on the court and hit half of those open jump shots. We're not talking Kobe Bryant hand in the face jump shots. We're talking wide open jump shots that is within their range of shot making. Kobe White also didn't play too well against Memphis. He only had 4 points in that game.
Yeah.
So the thing is, noticing how the Bulls role players are, we can't afford to have 2 or 3 role players not playing well all at the same time. For example, Levine puts up 24 points, and on paper, that's like his season average or close to it, right? So you're saying, okay, he met his season average, right?
Right.
But ultimately, Kobe White, 4 points, Caruso, 2 points. You get less than 10 points from a combined, 40 minutes of play between 2 guys, 2 guards as well.
Right.
That's inexcusable. You gotta hit shots. It's imperative. And that's both of y'all can't be cold.
And that's the thing what you're kind of referring to with Caruso, because Kobe White is going to try to get his. And that's going to alleviate the Bulls from the starting 5. But it would be even greater if Caruso can have that same mindset, and that'd be even a bigger help.
Yeah.
And then I'm even looking at Patrick Williams' numbers. Like, he's like 9.6 points a game right now.
Yeah.
It would be fantastic if he can, clear 10. Like 13, 14 points a game. I think that would be really, really good for his value in the NBA, and especially with the Bulls.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can just, keep working towards that. But we sound like broken records in some ways. So, I don't know.
We see the potential. We're happy. I'm happy to see that Patrick Williams has stepped it up a little bit more from the initial conversations we were having about him early in the season.
Yeah.
But he still needs to be more assertive. Just got to be more assertive, especially when it's without another star out there.
Yeah.
Just got to be able to say, all right, I noticed that as more touches going around, this might be a game I could put up 20.
Yep.
This might be a game I put up 24, 25.
Yep.
That's not asking too much from a guy that I've seen put up 30 points in games. They came scarcely around, but it's very possible for Patrick Williams to do that. Because Io's going to be aggressive. Io's from Chicago. He got the Chicago nature with him. Yeah.
Always going to bring that.
Yeah, so we're not worried about him. It's more about other guys. Kobe typically does play well for us. It's just this game he didn't.
Yeah.
And
then the playoffs last year.
Exactly. Very true. He got thoroughly outclassed against Milwaukee's backcourt as well. But yeah, we cannot afford to have 2 or 3 perimeter players underperforming at the same time. It's basically like a guaranteed L at that point. Yeah. But Vucevic played pretty well, like I talked about. I would like to see Goran Dragic shoot more threes. He was being a little passive. And I like Drummond's energy. You know, Drummond's coming off that really good, phenomenal game he had against the San Antonio Spurs, where he put up, 22 and 15, in like probably 15 to 20 minutes of play. So he was extremely efficient in that game. Him and Vooch both put up, double doubles in that game. And we ran away with a, 20-point plus victory at that game. So ultimately, Memphis was looking at game footage and was like, all right, we got to find a way to take one of them away, or at least try to reduce that a little bit. And guys like Jaren Jackson can really help with that. But and there was some plays that, didn't go our way. I know Drummond, in a funny manner, he probably put himself on Shaqtin' a Fool, with that Euro step he tried to do and caught his own air ball. But the effort was there. He got in the passing lane. He's done that a few times this season, and he was trying to go for the play, but I thought he anticipated the guard from Memphis, Tyus Jones, to try to go for the steal. So he reacted to it. It was almost like a 2K glitch, like how that happened. But yeah, I mean, but what can you say? I mean, off to the next game, and we just got to figure out how we can bounce back from that. Yeah.
So how do you feel about what has happened down there in Dallas?
I mean, you're talking about 2 of the most skilled point guards, or guards, I should say, in the league. And both of them have that shot-making ability, as we all are well aware of, and they both have the ability to make big shots down the stretch of games, not just regular season. It's going to be interesting. I feel like they have to bounce back. Dallas had to bounce back off not offering Jalen Brunson a contract. That's well documented. He goes to New York, which is he currently right now. He should have been an all-star. And what has happened is that Dallas has realized the value of Jalen Brunson now that Jalen Brunson is no longer there. And they've struggled mightily without having an extra guard, even though Spencer Dinwiddie is a good player. They need another guy that can handle the basketball, which is not Spencer Dinwiddie. But now they got an upgrade from Jalen Brunson and Kyrie Irving. So it's, funny how it all worked out. Some people look at this as a rent situation where, this might just be another stop for Kyrie. But it's very possible that from, if you take stuff factoring off the court, our conversations we've had about the whole vaccine mandates that New York threw at him, the southern states don't operate like that. And Dallas is known to not operate like that. So if you think about it from an off the court standpoint, there's no other place that would really fit from off the court. There's places that will fit on the court for Kyrie, but off the court mixed in with on the court, I don't know what other place would give him that perfect blend of that. I don't know. So we'll see how this go. Plus, I think Kyrie is also very cognizant how others look at him with the team stop. But a lot of players in the league are doing this. This is looked at as the new norm now. And there were some things that Joe Tsai, if I believe that's his name, the Nets owner, I just felt like it was just a little too aggressive of what he was asking from Kyrie, especially when it came down to like early in the season, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And I think those kind of things sit for people. But it's also showing other players around the league this is how he treats his players. And it's probably going to be really tough moving forward. I mean, money always talks, right? If a team is going to offer you $250 million or more or whatever, you might be able to swallow some of what you probably saw from another player. But I feel like if you exclude that, it's going to be kind of hard for people to want to top prospects to want to go to that kind of team adding on to the fact Ben Simmons has still not evolved to what everybody thought he would be in lieu of leaving Philadelphia. I also feel like this is also another example of why Kevin Durant should have never left Brooklyn. Some people just got to know themselves, right? I was talking to a friend of mine, and we talked about how, like, Kevin Durant felt like, you know, obviously we were rewinding the clock years ago, right? But this is where I feel like it all started, right? So Kevin Durant felt he couldn't get necessarily the credit that he thought he deserved while playing for Golden State, right? Even though he willingly took himself there. It wasn't like a trade. He signed to be there, right?
Right.
I don't know how that's possible to feel that way, because I know from a media standpoint and I know from a fan standpoint, in the moment, everybody has high emotions, but also know winning always solves things, right? When you keep winning, it does something to people. Whether they are on your side or not, they have to just
accept it.
Exactly. They just gotta close their mouths and just take it,
and then eventually respect it.
Exactly. Same thing with, you know, I use this example all the time. There's people there who don't like seeing Tom Brady keep winning, but keep winning, it eventually does something to you. You say, you know what, this guy is phenomenal.
I might not like him. I might not like what he did, but he's a champion.
Exactly. And you can't take the titles away. So, you know, ultimately, what I mean by knowing yourself, I felt like Kevin Durant is a elite talent, but he's not a leader. And being a leader isn't always equated to being the best player. Chauncey Billups is a leader for his team back in those days, but he's not a lead. He's not a talent like Kevin Durant.
The best player.
Exactly. He's not a talent like Kevin Durant. You see what I'm saying? And what I notice is Kevin Durant doesn't like to address people, whether it be, you know, I mean, he's an ultimate team. I'm pretty sure everybody liked to play around him, but I also feel like his lack of wanting to be that leader, right, has caused certain things to go in the direction that has gone that probably didn't favor him or didn't favor the team. Have he had more of that tightrope, that disciplinarian energy, where like, hey, you on my team, this is what we're gonna about, this is what we about here. If he had that kind of energy from day one, yeah, you're gonna get some ruffle of feathers or whatever, but ultimately what happens with that is that a lot of the other nonsense that goes along with teams or players or the Ben Simmons stuff, that usually kind of gets nipped in the bud more. You know, obviously don't want to compare every great to another great, but you know, let's take a Kobe Bryant. Like, if you go a guy like that team, you go even a LeBron team in his heyday, right? While they're trying to go for championships, right? If you're not gonna get on their page, you're gonna get shipped out, right?
Period.
Or it's gonna be an issue where they probably would verbally address you. Now, we never know on camera everything because we just fans of the sport, but the energy you get, I've seen podcasts where Kevin Durant is like, I don't like to address certain things, I don't know what you've been through, and there's truth to that, but I also feel like your inability to open your mouth also causes a cancer. You gotta open your mouth. He probably saw some stuff that wasn't right for the team on every stop he's been on, and he didn't open his mouth, and in the minute another guy opened his mouth who naturally has that personality like Draymond, he couldn't handle it. So I feel like ultimately he should have stayed where he was at. The talent and everything matched up himself, right?
Yep.
And ultimately he could have had a couple more rings on his finger in the process and probably another Finals MVP. And in the process of all of that, you keep winning with the resume he already had, which is already Hall of Fame worthy.
Right.
No one can tell you anything. I mean, 3-4 rings, 4 scoring titles. I mean, that resume on paper is insane. It's still insane, but I felt like he let his pride block his rationale. That's how I look at it. I feel like he was following what the media didn't want him to do. They wanted him off that team. They was like saying you'll never get the credit, and he started to kind of believe in that a little bit more, even if there was some truth to it. Ultimately, what other stop makes the most sense for you at this point of your career? You know what I'm saying? So no other player is going to let you come to their team and become Finals MVP.
Right.
You know, no other player's going to do that. No other player in current modern history would have done that. So I felt like he was in a really good situation, and it just got squandered. And it's not all his fault, but I felt like he had a lot to do with, you know, just that right there. Just he could have just said, you know what, certain things I don't like, but look at the landscape. we're going to make it work here. Make it work. But ultimately, it is what it is.
How do you feel about what's been going on at ESPN lately, that Anthony Davis wasn't as responsive to LeBron's milestone?
I thought that was actually pretty alarming. I mean, normally teammates are very happy for other teammates, especially when you've won a championship with them.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm assuming, because I might sound like I'm putting words in the man's mouth, because we'll never get a chance to interview Anthony Davis. But ultimately, though, I feel like sometimes I feel like some players look at things with other players, even though those other players are greater than them. Obviously, LeBron is greater from a career standpoint, accomplishment standpoint, however you want to spice it up, than Anthony Davis, right?
Yeah.
But I also feel like they can take that on the chin when somebody's better, but I feel like the spectacle that goes along with it is sometimes a little bit much for some people, right? Yeah. Now, I heard Jalen Rose saying that, like, it come off as you a hater, it come off as that, but that's exactly the issue. Why is he not allowed to have his own mannerisms? Why does everybody got to be in unison in how they think?
Right.
He probably was mad, not at LeBron getting a scoring record, because clearly the man has been performing at an A level for a long time. I think he was probably more upset that they're going to lose this game.
Yeah.
And they've been losing a lot. And they also are very, very much in danger of not even making the playoffs.
On a play.
Exactly. So the Lakers are currently 13th in the Western Conference right now from the time this podcast is being shot. And all the L's that they've taken. I mean, if you look at the Lakers, they've lost their last 2 games. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They're 5-5, I think, in their conference, if I'm not mistaken. But that was a very winnable game, and before he hit the scoring record, Oklahoma City was winning the game. Then they go on a 10-minute break. They go back, and then Oklahoma City just acted like they were not phased. They just kept playing. Although they made it a game, it was pretty much over. But I mean, SGA, he played phenomenal, even though he came to the arena with them clown shoes on. But ultimately, Anthony Davis probably was just more in a frustration state. Because it just seemed like everybody was happy, but nobody was winning, for their team. And they really need wins right now. So I think it was more of that, but I think just making it something else. I don't know if I don't like celebrating his wins kind of thing. I don't think he's thinking like that.
Who's to really know what was going on in his head? And I kind of hate what you addressed, that everybody has to act the same. Like, he might not be a hater. He might not, dislike LeBron, or he might be ecstatic for the man. But why does he have to? They're losing the game. They're still professionals. They're the 13th seed in the West right now.
Right,
exactly. Might not even make the play-in.
Exactly.
So it could be a lot of those things like you addressed that's on his mind, other than LeBron, doing this. But who's to say, man?
Yeah, you just never know. You never know. I mean, like, we'll just see. Only time will tell if he want to stay in a Laker uniform. I mean, he's already speculated years past that he would love to play in Chicago, but it's his health, man, and it makes it hard to just buy into him. His talent has always been there, but it's really his health. Speaking of that, the Lakers, now that we on that topic, shout out to LeBron for breaking the all-time scoring record, though. Salute to him. He'll definitely keep scoring and getting more buckets. He's probably going to be in the league the next 3 to 5 more years anyway.
You never know.
But, yeah. But Russell Westbrook, the man has now been traded. Officially, he is no longer a Los Angeles Laker. He now plays for the Utah Jazz now.
Wow.
Which is wild because, if you really historically look at Russell Westbrook and the most hostile moments that he's had, it's come from the Utah Jazz fans. Now, obviously, Utah ride for their own, but, Russell seems like they kind of got to keep mental receipts of everything. And I don't know if he's happy about not only being traded, but being traded to Utah. I don't think he want to be in Utah. I know he's going to be a professional and, do what he got to do to play basketball. It's what's feeding his family, and he's still going to get millions of dollars regardless. But I'm pretty sure he's not happy about that. But it's a 3-team trade where basically Russell Westbrook got traded, obviously, which includes Lakers receiving D'Angelo Russell. In the trade, Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt. And then the Utah Jazz receive Russell Westbrook, as I just mentioned, and Juan Toscano Anderson, who used to be a Golden State Warrior. And then they also get Damian Jones as well. And then Minnesota receives Mike Conley, who used to be on the Utah Jazz. So Minnesota now gets a point guard, which can really help out Ant and Cat and Rudy Gobert a lot. So Minnesota might be on the up and coming because Mike Conley is a winner in the point guard position.
And D'Angelo Russell wasn't really a traditional point guard.
No, he wasn't. He was a scoring point guard. And he was really frustrated with Minnesota, too. I think he put up a stat where he was like, if y'all not going to use me the way I want and y'all can just let me go. I'm paraphrasing on that. I might be off on how I'm explaining it. But nonetheless, he wasn't happy. Yeah. He wasn't happy. But Minnesota got some aroma around them where people just don't be happy after a long time.
It might be Cat.
It might be Cat.
Since he is the guy there.
It might be Cat. You know, I mean, very, very possible. But, you know, Minnesota also had this aroma a little bit even after KG was there. You know, it's just something about their franchise. You know, it's just like a stench that goes off, I feel like. You know, it's just a stop. You know, don't feel like they take basketball to the highest level of seriousness in terms of wanting to win. You know, some of that is unfortunate luck, but you know, but they got some talented players there, you know, and they got a point guard now, so we'll see how it all manifests. They might be able to punch their ticket right into that playoff picture.
So if you were Russell Westbrook, I mean, the Jazz are better on paper than the Lakers right now.
Yeah.
How would you feel about that?
I mean, I'm pretty sure a player of his magnitude would love to be in a winning situation. So he's probably happy about that. It seems so quick, though. I mean, the man was just celebrating with LeBron about all-time scoring record, which just happened yesterday. Now you're on a trade block. You know, I mean, this happens in a day in the life of an NBA player. But, but if I'm Russell, I'd probably be happy, but also know that the fans of Utah Jazz have done said some pretty foul stuff to him before. And he's never forgotten that. So I feel like if he had it his way, he probably would want to be traded somewhere else.
Different team, yeah.